I want to show you this truly incredible prehistoric painting. This is a prehistoric battle scene. There's no other way to say it. It's obviously a genuine battle. At least 29 people in two sides launching arrow after arrow at each other. It's such a dramatic scene. You can so easily see the energy in it. Their legs outstretched as they leap into combat. Someone up here leaping backwards, firing their bow. It's dramatic. This was probably the most dramatic day of their entire lives. It's from Les Dogues in the Spanish region of Castillon, on Spain's Mediterranean coast. A beautiful region, rolling hills, picturesque villages. Definitely a bit Scorchio too, probably. Scorchio? Looks absolutely roasting. They were painted under the overhang of this rock shelter high above the valley floor. Today, they're practically invisible after being, exposed to the elements for thousands of years. Fortunately, we live at the perfect time. They haven't quite faded, and we've also invented the camera and scanning technology to really bring out this forgotten battle, bring out all the details. This painting dates to the Iberian Neolithic period, so about 8,000 years ago to 5,000 years ago, something like that. A time of huge societal change. Farming had been introduced. Now that people were more tied to the land, other things started happening, like huge communal monuments were being built, some to house your family, others to track the movements of the stars and provide a stage for all your rituals and beliefs. And if this artwork is anything to go by, the first wars, true wars, were being waged. I know war might feel like a bit of a clickbait term because, it's more than just a scuffle, right? A kerfuffle. It implies organization. There's ideological motives behind it. Things like that. It's organized, isn't it? But in this region of Spain at this time, I believe we absolutely have evidence of that. Today we're going to look at all of that from the paintings, the preserved remains of bows, the aftermath of these battles, and what it says about society at this time. It's truly, the evidence here is like nowhere else in the world, I think. YouTube moderators, of course, no graphic footage will be shown. This is all educational, all stuff derived from academic resources, and yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Super quick. If you're really into this stuff, you will probably love MyHeritage. It's the #1 family history service. MyHeritage helps you find your place in history by building your family tree and finding out your personal piece of history. Just look at the huge number of people that sprang from my little box. I only started with me and my grandparents. Thanks to them, I've been able to trace one line back to 1745, which is absolutely astonishing, and uncover some really interesting personal tidbits along the way too. Like this. This is the 1891 census that shows my great-grandfather and his 6 children living in a house in Blackpool. I didn't even know that they lived in Blackpool. And what's really crazy, when you go to that house now, it's some shop or something that says escape in time, escape through time. That's so funny. I know you probably think I made that up for the ad read, but I totally didn't. It's such a bizarre coincidence. MyHeritage can find all this information because they have this massive database of 33 billion records. They can also match your family tree to other people building their family trees and find a connection there. And then when you find a relative, find a photo of them, you can even enhance and colorize and animate it. Really makes you think that every one of those boxes on my family tree is a person with a complex life and history, equally as complex as my own. If you want to give it a go yourself, try it for free for 14 days using the link in the description or clicking on the QR code. Thank you to MyHeritage for being such a big supporter of history content on YouTube and doing cool stuff. All of the artwork from this region of Spain at this time is called Levantine art, which is confusing because there's another region at the minute we call the Levant, right? And I was a bit confused looking this up. I was like, is this really in Spain? But it turns out Levant just means east. So you learn something new every day. And this is from the east of Spain. There's a lot of battle scenes here. This is another famous scene from Cueva Morella. Again, the fighters leaping into action. You can feel the drama coming off the cave walls. Unfortunately, it's very hard to find high-definition photos of these, especially because they're so faint, so my friend and colleague Ettore Mazza has made them nice and HD for us. Shout out to Ettore. This painting here from Cueva, these archers battling, is so famous it even made it onto a Spanish stamp, which is one to collect for the archaeology nerds. The intensity of these scenes and the leaping, it really reminds me of a documentary you all have to watch. It's called Dead Birds. I think it's from 1963 and is filmed in Papua New Guinea and captures the moment two tribes go to war. There's so much running, screaming, shouting. The energy is off the charts. It's really a must watch. It's so reminds me of these battle scenes. It's almost like you can see into the past a little bit. But you don't just get battle scenes. There's so much more happening, like specific acts, really specific acts. Let me show you what I mean. This one here is believed to show an ambush. You've got smaller figures surrounding these larger ones in the middle. The archaeologists interpret this as some sort of ambush, perhaps. Maybe even of a chief or a big man. Maybe this is the final moment of a battle. A larger person in a painting, literally a larger person, can sometimes be a sign of more importance, right? You see this in the terracotta warriors. The higher the rank of the terracotta warrior, they get slightly bigger and bigger, because generals don't want to be portrayed as a short king. You might literally be a short king, but you don't want to be portrayed forever as a short king, it seems. But yeah, the ambush of a big man is certainly possible, certainly something you would want to commemorate in perpetuity on the valley above your village. This is a very fascinating painting, very macabre. I believe there's 11 people, all in a line. Their bows raised. You can practically hear the cheering and the chanting. And just down from them, one lone individual, arrows sticking out of them. What did he do to deserve this? Who was he? What taboo did he break? Of course, these are questions we can never, ever answer. But this must have been an event that happened. This is like the end of Ceausescu, but 7,000 years in the past. It's a macabre moment, but it's a fascinating insight into the past, isn't it? This is another interesting one. There are many panels like this, I think. People seemingly marching together, bows raised. I love the detail of them holding their arrows because, again, it reminds me of that documentary in Papua New Guinea. I think, if I'm remembering it right, they're not wearing any quivers. They hold the bow and some arrows in one hand and fire with the other. It could be some sort of formation, some sort of group, society, hunting society, war society. It could also easily be some sort of ceremony, war dance, something like that. You have to get yourself psychologically ready for what's about to go on. War, like all the other things that humans do, is so attached to our cultural ideas, religious ideas, symbolic ideas. And, it's sad to admit, but war and things like that, there's something about them that is a really binding and bonding thing for men. This is I always wanted to be in the military growing up. I always wanted to do it. There's something about that appeals to elements of manhood, like boys together doing crazy, dangerous things. There's something about that appeals psychologically to a lot of men, I think, really, honestly. This is another really interesting one, speaking of boys on tour. Not war this time, it seems a hunting scene. Again, you've got the people leaping around, running around, a boar of some sort, arrows sticking out of them, another one perhaps dead on the floor. The thing I can't work out in this one is the composition of this chap here, because in the battles scenes, the different perspective of the person obviously shows different sides. Are they a different side, or maybe they're, trying to show the chaos of hunting a boar, the boar is charging at them, they're running away. Maybe this was a humorous scene for them. Maybe this is a funny moment they're recounting when, they're all gathered around the fire, they're making that art, they're remembering when Ugbert almost got knocked out by the boar. Another macabre one, sad one. A lone individual on the ground, arrows sticking out of them. These, I truly believe, these artworks are not pieces of fiction. These events really happen, and we know they happen because we find the bodies. War and conflict has certainly existed throughout human history, because conflict exists in every single animal species, plant species, bacteria. It's simply a fact of evolution that animals compete with each other violently. Normally when we find archaeological evidence of conflict deep in prehistory, it's usually just a few individuals, maybe 30 maximum. But during the Neolithic, the scale of conflict obviously changes a lot. Why does war increase at this time? There are a lot of ideas around it, but it's probably because farming ties you very, very closely to a specific piece of land. There's no more roaming the landscape as such. You're going to be on a specific piece of land for at least an entire year. It's not a giant leap of logic to assume that this encourages people to feel very protective of that land, to feel they have a real ownership of that land. And you're also creating a lot of resources in one place. It also incentivizes things like raiding. If you don't have enough food, guess what? Your neighboring village has food too. Maybe you can take some of theirs. Sedentary farming societies as well, you can kind of see how inequality easily arises with unequal access to land, grain, animals. All of this, seem to have led to the creation of real wars, true wars, and this is certainly visible in the archaeological record. This is the San Juan Anteportum Latinum rock shelter in northern Spain. Great name for a rock shelter, by the way. Sounds very Roman. I love that. Here, archaeologists unearthed the remains of at least 338 individuals. I think if I read the paper right, they were almost 8 deep in this rock shelter. An absolutely huge, jumbled up, tangled up collection of humans. The bodies are so jumbled up that it's, difficult to see what's going on, really. It's impossible to identify accurately all of the human remains, but it seems that 70% of the remains are males or young males. 70% that could be identified anyway. The demographic that's kind of participating in war, right? In amongst the bodies were 52 flint arrowheads, 64 blades, 2 polished stone axes, 3 pebbles, 5 bone awls, and some personal ornaments. These are not grave goods as such. These were on the people or even in the people when they were thrown in, almost certainly. The arrowheads all show signs of impact damage. Obviously, all the people in this grave, their lives ended abruptly, shall we say, for YouTube moderators. There are 107 cranial injuries identified, and here's where it gets really interesting. 59 of those were actually healed. Many of these people, this was not their first conflict. This was not their first battle. 81% of the healed wounds were again on the male bodies, showing a real gender divide between who is participating in this conflict. It seems like truly organized war, but obviously wars impact all of society too. They were able to identify at least 34 women and 64 children here too, sadly. You don't want to go back in time to prehistory, guys. Let me tell you, you don't want to go back in time. Stay in our time. Don't go back. Fascinatingly, you can kind of see the sort of wider societal impacts of conflict and instability too here. 36% of the people had cribra orbitalia. Basically,
eye sockets
becomes kind of porous. It seems that happens, any kind of trauma can cause it, but particularly starvation, food insecurity. Amongst 64 children, 39 of them had it. This was a community in trouble for a very long time. This was a hard life people were living. Hard life. Certainly many people had wounds that we're not able to identify. But incredibly, archaeologically, we have found the weapons that they would use to wage these wars. Bones and stone arrowheads, these preserve really well archaeologically, right? I mean, especially stone, it can literally last millions of years. 10 million years' time when we're all gone and octopuses have evolved to be the dominant species. Octopus archaeologists are going to find the stone tools we made, right? It's just stone. It's not going to go anywhere. But wood is so precious archaeologically. It only survives in very rare conditions, which is why it's so remarkable we found these. These are 6,000-year-old arrows. They're found in a well-preserved grave, Neolithic grave. They're made of reeds and olive wood, which is interesting. I'd never thought to make an arrow out of reeds, but it makes perfect sense. They're so straight and lightweight. I'd never thought about that before, but it makes perfect sense. And olive wood too. I mean, they're just using the resources that are around them. These are very resourceful people. The arrowheads would be tied to the shafts and stuck with birch tar. It reminds me a lot of the arrows found with Ötzi. You see a similar thing with the arrows in Ötzi. Incredibly, 3 fragments of twisted fiber were found. These are believed to be the bowstrings. They're made from the sinew of 3 different animals: goat, deer, and pigs. Again, showing just how resourceful people were at this time. Nothing goes to waste. Sadly, no bow was found here for whatever reason, but one was found at La Draga up in Catalonia. This was about 1 meter long and made of yew, the wood that famously the English longbows were made out of in the medieval period. These people would know what they're doing. This is the production of arrows, bows and arrows. This is an integral part of their life, and they're using all the resources of their area to make the best tools they have. They're warriors, but they're also craftsmen. These bows, you know, a big meter-long yew bow, that's no doubt very, very effective, but not 100% effective, right? There's always a chance people can survive. Check this out. You've got to see this. Oh my goodness. This guy had a bad day. This guy had a really bad day. This is a rib bone, human rib bone. This is an arrowhead. If somehow in your twists and turns of life, an arrow and your rib get in this position, you have had a bad time, right? You have had a really bad time. The arrow hit them in the back, plunged into the rib, but it was not the end of them. As you can see, the rib has fully healed around the arrow. This is from the Roc de les Orenetes site in northeastern Spain, slightly younger than the Neolithic period. It's called the Chalcolithic period, where people had developed copper, but still using a lot of stone tools. It's about 4,000 years old. Can you imagine the suffering this person endured? For the rest of their life, every breath, agony. Agony. To live with this in a time with no modern medicine is my worst nightmare. It's really my worst nightmare. Guys, I'm telling you, don't go back in time. I'm really concerned you're going to go back in time. I'm concerned for your safety. Don't do it. Even though they didn't have modern medicine, I do want to argue that they had one very effective painkiller: mushrooms. Good old mushrooms. This is a rock art panel from a place called Selva Pascuala, I think, in Spain, in this Levantine region. You can see some interesting artwork around here, some fingerprints, maybe some hands, an archer there, a bull, giant bull, another archer above it, and down on the right-hand side, 14 little interesting figures. Narrow body, wide head, no arms, no bows and arrows. It doesn't look like they're humans. Some of them, maybe, they sort of have maybe roots at the bottom there, or legs, arguably. Maybe these are stick figures. But they don't look like the human figures that are so common in this artwork, right? People are pretty good at painting humans as part of this cultural tradition. They don't look anything like that. They kind of look like mushrooms. Their connection to this bull is really interesting too, because psilocybin mushrooms in this region, and well, everywhere probably, they love growing in dung. Horse dung, cow dung, sheep dung. The dung is the source of the medicine. That's just how it goes down. The dung is the source of enlightenment. Are these, psychoactive mushrooms? We can debate this until the cows come home. We'll never know the answer. We can never ask the artist, right? We can never interrogate them. Me personally, the use of plants like this is so well documented throughout all of human history. We're doing it all the time. It's not unreasonable to think that these sorts of plants play a role. Maybe in those war rituals, maybe in combat as a sort of stimulant, get rid of your fear, and maybe as a painkiller for when there's an arrow lodged in your back for the rest of your life. It could be. I'm so confident that these farmers were well aware of the special mushrooms growing in their cow fields. After the war is over, it's time to create these pieces of artwork, and that may have been as therapeutic as the mushrooms even. This is all a factor of it, and what we know archaeologically is that this would have started with a fire, particularly of conifer wood, it would seem often. We can tell from the pigments used, that these were made with the charcoal of conifer wood. Sitting around the fires, discussing the day's events, remembering the battle, boasting about how tough they were, celebrating a defeated enemy, laughing in the face of danger perhaps, poor Ugbert, chased off by the boar. Finally, the climbing of the hill, the recording of the events on the wall, to be remembered, perhaps for generations and generations. These people told their story. And even now, 7,000 years later, we don't know the details, but we have the ghosts of these stories, right? We still have the shadow of these stories thousands of years later. Pretty remarkable, pretty cool archaeology. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again to My Heritage for supporting the video. It really is a great thing to uncover your family history. Check it out. And yeah, next video, maybe on not such a gruesome topic. See ya.